How many people work for the Conservation Foundation?
Year-round, we're about 18 people. We're scattered between the administrative part of the organization, the science part. The development office has 2 people working in it, and property maintenance guys. We have, as we're proud of saying, we have 3.5 guys that take care of 9,000 acres, and they work hard at it.
Right.
And then we have our cranberry guys.
Oh yeah,
many people don't realize that we that we run the Milestone and the windswept cranberry bogs, and the fascinating thing that's happening right now is that the Milestone bog, which is about 200 acres of cranberries, is transitioning to an organic cranberry operation. The windswept cranberry bog already is. It's a certified organic bog. Now you got to watch out here. Stay off to the left.
Oh, okay.
That's been an organic bog now for almost 10 years. The Milestone bog, the board made the decision recently, just because the price of traditionally grown cranberries is so low that we're losing a significant amount of money. There's a gorgeous little pond here on the left-hand side. Yeah. It's one of several ponds called the Pout Ponds, and the word pout, P-O-U-T, comes from the Native Americans having referred to this as the noise that's made when a whale breaks the surface and blows air out of its blowhole. The word for that was pout, and the reason that these are called that is that there was a legend that had a large large whale come up under the island at one point and blow these holes out. And this is one of the three ponds. There'll be one coming up here on the right-hand side, and then there's one off on the left.
Why are you in? Are you in the cranberry business?
We are.
Ooh,
and that
helps.
No,
I mean, didn't they? That was privately run at one time.
That was. It was acquired by the foundation by way of a gift that was made by Roy Larson and Walter Beinecke and Arthur Dean back around 1968. They bought the bog operation from a group of island residents who had been running it, and it was almost ready to fold, and for whatever reason Roy Larson was here's the other one of the other ponds.
Yeah, look at it, great.
And these are very shallow kettle hole ponds. Kettle hole ponds are the result of a large block of ice being left behind when the glacier was pulling away.
Yep.
And as a result, these depressions, you probably have to scoop through this soft sand. We don't want to get stuck. That's the one thing people sometimes are intimidated by when they come out here. And I think probably we'll go off to the
right.
Left.
Oh, to the left?
Yeah, straight across that intersection. Famous last words. This is great, by the way, for those of the islanders who are watching it. This is great territory out here for beach plumbing. My wife is one of those who comes out here in the fall, early fall, and harvests beach plum to make jams and jellies.
Nice. Nice. And so, get back to the cranberries.
Back to the cranberries. Yeah. Back in '68, the property was acquired. The title was given to the foundation. Roy Larson took it upon himself, because he was passionate about cranberries, to perpetuate the cranberry operation. Many people on the island know Tom Larrabee Sr.
Oh, I did a piece on that place way back in the 90s.
Tom was the operator of the cranberry bog. He was actually one of the owners from whom the property was purchased.
Right.
Back in '68, and he was the bog manager at that point, and continued to be the bog manager going ahead when Roy Larson took it upon himself to run the bog. He was paying all the bills. Tom was doing the day-to-day work, and we went forward for a period of time until Roy Larson passed away, and the foundation's board said, you know, we can't be in the cranberry business. We don't have the resources that Roy was personal resources that he was putting into the operation. Whenever there was a deficit, he would always take his own checkbook out and write the check.
Yeah.
And the board looked at each other and said, you know, there's nobody sitting here that wants to play that role again. This is Shakamo Hills, by the way, that we're in right now. a gorgeous part of the island, and you'll see the reason why as we get further up the road. But we went out and found a mainland cranberry grower who came to the island, Russ Lawton. He spent probably 6 or 7 years here under a lease arrangement that the foundation had with him, and he finally found a substitute for him in the person of, or in the name of, Northland Cranberries.
Yep.
Northland Cranberries nobody knew anything about when they first came to Nantucket. They were a very small company based out in Wisconsin. They were anxious to grow cranberries, but they didn't want to own cranberry bogs, so they acquired the right to lease our bog, and they also leased a bog up in Hanson, Massachusetts, which was about the same size as our 200-acre bog. And we had a very happy relationship with Northland for many years. As our tenant, they were obligated to pay us a rent. Mm-hmm. And the rent that they...
This is not now anymore.
No,
longer.
not now.
Right.
But back then, the foundation was receiving payments that were enabling it to go out and buy property.
Oh, nice.
And so much of what was not already owned by people who are... We're going to bear off to the left here.
Okay.
And we'll play Julie Andrews. The hills are alive.
They certainly are, Jim. Look at this, huh?
This is one of the classic sites on Nantucket, and I won't give you. I
don't remember being.
I'm not going to give you the GPS.
You don't want to get out and do a Julie Andrews thing for us for the camera?
Run down the hill. But if you look carefully off in the distance, we're looking out over the UMass Nantucket Field Station property, which is actually owned by the foundation. We ponied up $22 million about 13 years ago in order to protect that land. It was about to be sold for development, and it would have supported 8 or 9 very oversized lots, each with waterfront on the harbor, and we just couldn't see that happening. And Grace Grossman stepped in.
Good old Grace.
She was a member of the foundation's board, and she had a connection with the university's leadership in Boston, and came back to one of our board meetings and said, we're going to buy the UMass Nantucket Field Station. And the board looked at her and said, with what and how much? And she says, we'll raise the money, and it's only going to be $20 million. And they, after they picked themselves up off the floor, they said, well, you know, maybe there is some merit in doing this.
Should I go down that way?
Yeah, we're going to go that way. But if you look way off in the distance, you can see the Great Point Light there.
Sure can.
And here, here we're looking off in the distance, we're seeing the Sankaty headlight.
What is part of your job, aside from, you know, managing the people to make sure that the work gets done? I mean, do you have to talk to these people and say, hey, could you give us another, you know...
Fundraising, familiarizing people with what the mission of the foundation is, and going out and being the face of the organization when the board isn't around doing that. It's been fun. In fact, having just talked about the field station, when I was in graduate school at UMass Amherst, one of the things that we did, I was a landscape architect student at that point in the master's program.
I was going to ask you how you got this job.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell us that too.
The head of the department at the time, I did not know, had been consulting with the foundation, which had no employees. And he mentioned to me, you know, you might be interested in applying for this job that I've just heard about. But just before that, the year before that, we came out to Nantucket with our graduate class, which were only about a dozen students and a professor. That professor's still with us. I still communicate with him via email, and he was back here on Nantucket last summer visiting places that
he was your professor for landscape architecture?
He was. And he brought us out to the field station. We spent a week out on the island, really doing a lot of touring with the person who was the Clint Andrews of the day. Many people remember Clint Andrews and Edith Andrews.
Sure.
But David Carson was his name, and he was a naturalist, gardener, and jack of all trades, and had lots of connections. People on the island really loved the guy. And so he took us around to various places that I still remember well when I drive through town and say, I've been in that garden with Dave Carson back when. But he lit the light in a lot of people's lives, and the experience of having been here that week on the field station, living at the field station, came all the way around the circle when the foundation got involved in saving that property. So now we're working with the University of Massachusetts, the Boston campus, to try and create programming with the hope that the academic and research side of what was there back when West Tiffany was around, and when Sarah left, to get out the message that science and research is something that Nantucket should be very proud of. We're looking across a landscape here that is very unique. It doesn't exist anywhere else in this part of the country. And people come here and relate to us their experiences in the British Isles of wandering around the moors, and they say, this looks just like what we've just left behind.